calling up that
There's
they
no
don't pick up the
street name up
garbage.
there, there's no
No.
signs up there, there's no nothing.
No, I'm getting a no parking sign on top where the cans are. But I need to know who owns that property.
Maybe
If
we can,
anybody can help me,
maybe we can
please.
send Kevin White out there, take a look.
I gave him the map and I haven't gotten an answer.
We gave it to Kevin?
Yeah.
He insists, because we showed him the materials that, they pulled them, yeah,
Just come close.
oh, sorry. Attorney Batola has done title searches twice, and they come back the same. And he still insists we're looking at the wrong piece of road, that what he refers to as the old Camptown. I don't know how else to do it. We've run them twice.
And we actually found an old judgment
Mhm.
of the Connecticut Superior Court in a quiet title action brought by the city of Derby that was trying to claim title to that road. And the court found Derby did not own that road.
Correct.
We actually found that,
Correct.
turned that over.
So as many times as we've showed them the documents, including the gentleman up at the top of the hill who thinks we should be plowing, we've shown everybody those documents, they still won't accept them. So every time there's a snowstorm or there's another kind of problem, they come back to us,
So private road, we're not responsible,
as we've told
because
them.
we'd be liable, liability to really to do it.
I just had one today up on, off of Mount Pleasant.
Same thing,
There's a private road there, you
Yeah.
guys can play Dopac or whatever.
yeah. Well, not Doback Terrace, right?
Yeah.
Is that a private road, Doback Terrace? I thought it was a city
Private.
street, huh? There's 4 houses there, they're all Dobacks, yeah.
And I'm not even sure about Highland. I was on Highland also today up there.
I will tell you that.
That's a private road?
No.
No.
It's not.
Enough from Mount Pleasant to High Street.
Yeah.
Right, it goes up like this, something like that, yeah.
We blow that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Okay, one other thing, that I've been talking, about, Linda's been helping on this one, 190 Seymour Avenue, the gas station.
Long time.
All right. If there may be help from the state to take the tanks out. Well, we haven't finalized that yet. If that is the case. Okay, and I'm not sure on the file, if there's a lien on that property. A blight lien from that.
I don't think it's a blight lien. I think it's a DEEP lien. And the tanks are still in the ground.
Okay, so,
What's the
If we
address? sir?
could-
What's the?
so it's 190 Seymour Avenue.
So it's not on here, it is
Yeah, it's on there, it's on the bottom.
one
I think
ninety?
there is in
Yeah.
fact a blight lien on that property. The issues are a little complicated because there is a substantial
The tanks,
lien on, deep lien. On that, there was a judgment that they obtained against the property owner. And we have not proceeded to try to bring that to foreclosure because of the.
okay, so my idea on that is if there's a way for the state to help us get the tanks out. What do you think?
I might, thanks. So I went to NVCOG and I talked to Ricardo Rodriguez, who is the best when it comes to remediation. And he was looking into seeing what it would cost because it really is a small property. The problem is if you demolish the building, you have to take the tank out. The problem is we don't know if the tank leaked. That's another whole thing. But Ricardo he was out of the country for a while. He was on vacation, brought his new baby to meet his family. But as soon as he comes back, I think he can kind of figure out whether we can get some money for remediation. It seems to me that of all the monies out there, remediation money is the easiest to get. And then we can make a decision about what we want to do. If we can get the tank out, we
Because the
might.
state will help us, but that means we have to contribute too.
Well,
Right.
not necessarily, not every
No?
grant that we get comes with a match. Many of them do, but these
The
remediation grants.
remediation one's not necessarily.
Correct.
If you can identify a remediation grant with Ricardo and we know it's enough.
Mhm.
And we get an LEP to come up with a remediation plan and we know we have the money for it, then we can commence a foreclosure on it
Correct.
and try to get title and then have the cleanup done.
Mhm.
But I'm hesitant to start a foreclosure on property that we don't necessarily want to take title
Right.
to unless we know we have the money to
Correct.
clean it,
Right.
because there are outstanding deep orders on it as well as a judgment.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, the blight fine is almost $500,000.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so we would end up
it's
with
the,
title.
it's the site of the place right now. I get calls.
Oh,
all
I
the
know, the
time.
neighbors, it's not fair to them.
You know, I don't know, either we have to do something with it. If we get an assistance on the tanks, take the tanks out, knock the building down. And then we could either try and sell the corner, give it to somebody so they'll pay taxes on it, sell it to somebody just to get income from the city. But
You have to,
Yeah.
it starts with, can you identify substantial cleanup monies? Because it goes beyond.
right, I mean, that's, I know that's the
taking
first
tanks
part we
out,
have to do.
because you may be these gas station cleanups with old tanks in the ground, you may be taking a lot of the soil away.
I've gone through it.
Yeah.
I know what it is. So that's another, that's probably the biggest eyesore we have. And I get calls all the time on it, so. We're looking for some kind of a solution. If it's
we get-
feasible and affordable,
We get real remediation money for it in the state, then you.
we'll knock it down. But other than that,
We gotta foreclose it first.
right, obviously, so,
Yeah.
but, I'm just looking for money somewhere. Okay, so that's basically the gist of it right now. And, any questions on,
Going back to the
Properties.
Crescent Street,
right,
they say it's a refused letter.
right.
So where are we with that?
We're filing a lien on it, we're doing the paperwork to file the lien on it. I think he's gonna come up with, Matt's gonna come up with the last letter that gives him 40 days to respond and get it, remediated. If they don't remediate at that point, then we'll file a lien on the house. And then we have to discuss it sometime is, I'm in favor of liening the properties. I'm all for it. There's no mortgage on the house or, I'm for foreclosing the house.
Yeah.
I mean, if blight is there, they don't fix it,
It's the
foreclose
same
on it.
owner for the last 60
If there's no
years.
mortgage on the house, that's even easier.
So I don't
And I
think-
understand the blight lien comes before a mortgage also.
Right.
Because that's why we have to notify
That's
bank.
correct. So
Right.
what we do, the process that we implemented is we do a title search at this time. So we could identify all the mortgage holders because they get notice. We give them notice when we're doing all this. And that's important.
So at that point, we file the lien. If it's work's not done, no mortgage, whatever, foreclose the house. Put the pressure on that person to fix it or get out. Then the city will have the right to take the house. Then we're gonna have to hook up with some kind of real estate because we may be owning
Probably
property.
have no money, no ways and means, but there's gotta be family.
There's gotta be somebody that'll want to save the house.
Because when you come to that light on New Haven Avenue, the first thing you do is
Right,
look over there.
and I
and you see
understand
this
it.
roof with all blue tarp.
It's not only
went for
that,
years.
it's a lot of stuff out there that, we should be foreclosing on,
Yeah.
which the liens are set up.
Right.
Got that Pine Street with the graffiti. That's another house. And these houses without mortgages, they're gonna bring some dollar signs.
Yeah,
Sell the house and money to the city.
Right.
So that's where, that's how I feel about liens. And I hope everybody else does, because if we can't lien the house and move forward, then what are we doing?
no, it's just terrible for the people
Right.
that live next
You
door,
can't-
take care of their property, pay taxes and everything, and then they got something like that next to them. And we have a lot of those.
I mean, I have a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of it's, menial stuff that, I go out, write the letter. For the most part, we get it solved, but this big stuff is, it's not fair to the city. It's not fair to the person living next door. And some of these houses are, especially that Buckingham Road
Yeah.
off of,
Yeah.
Roosevelt Drive. They got really nice houses up there and
Right.
they gotta look at those,
Right, yeah.
those houses.
Do me a favor on 5 Crescent. It says here refused letter. What does that mean?
That means we send out a certified letter.
Okay.
They refused the letter.
I didn't sign for it.
They refused it, right? Nobody answered it. They wouldn't take the letter. We get quite a few of those. So then we send out a second one. If it's done, then we start moving for,
Well, we do due process and then we just have to keep going.
Right.
Sometimes they think if they refuse the letter, it'll go away.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. So now they're gonna get a letter, that their house is gonna get liened. And then we'll go from there. Let them hire an attorney. Okay,
Could you look
Anything?
at the lot down here, 153 Main Street? You know where the Derby Pizza House was?
yeah,
All overgrown and
that's, LaPaglia.
owners in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I sent him a letter. For some reason, he sent it back. So I don't know if he's not in Rhode Island now or if he's in, Connecticut, but I think I got his phone number somewhere.
All right,
I'll
yeah.
give him a call if I can find it. If not, I'll send him another letter. He was real nice. The last time it happened, he was here within a week. Matter of fact, he called me up. I was home and I went down and I even talked to the guy and we had a lot of things in common about Rhode Island. So
Good.
he was a real nice guy.
Well, check into that.
I'll check him out again, but it's
appreciate
just
that.
the overgrown stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any
But on
garbage
Main
in
Street,
there.
that's the thing.
Yeah. There's that other lot on the corner there. I don't know if that's his or not.
He's the
that-
corner.
yeah.
The corner.
It's the corner, okay.
Yeah. And then 33 Elizabeth Street, like you said, the lots up here and back at the old UI building up here.
33.
What is that, Third Street? By the cigar store? If you go by the cigar store, those big parking lots back there with the broken fence and it's right up the top of this hill here.
Okay, on Minerva?
Yeah, right on the left. The big parking lots there.
Yeah,
It's in back of the old UI building where the spinning door used to be.
okay.
It goes all one property. So take a look at that one too.
Okay, and then there's the fence, we spoke about fence, on the Red Raider Plaza, where the railroad tracks are. With chicken places.
Yeah.
All right, somebody made a complaint about that, that fence, that somebody must have backed into it, because about at least 30, 40 feet of the fence is pushed over, but not down. And, I called up, Metro North, they got back to me on it, they're searching who owns it. If, the plaza owns the fence or if the railroad owns the fence. Does anybody know?
Yeah. Surprised they didn't know.
They didn't, they looked
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it. They sent me a letter back that they're gonna, to look into it.
How long
I
ago
sent
was
the
that?
letter to the Red Raider, Plaza. I didn't get an answer back.
How long
They're
ago
in
was that?
Texas, probably 3 weeks ago,
Oh,
just before the holidays.
Is that the part of the fence? Is that the part of the fence in the corner of Division and the Red Raider?
Yeah, it's the one right where the railroad arm comes down. The fence got pushed back. Some truck which right where the dumpsters are. Truck must have backed in there and he even took the cement out of the ground on through the poles. So he really hit it.
Somebody had.
I just don't want the fence falling down on the tracks and then, there's all kinds of lawsuits happening.
Right.
So, anything else?
Anything else, fellas?
Me?
No. Anything, Rich?
No, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much. Keep up the good work.
Right.
Number 9, update on 2025 bond referendum. Public Works Truck Replacement 1, Public Works Truck Replacement 2.
Brian Hall, Finance Director for the City of Derby. So, happy to inform everyone that those 2 trucks have been purchased. They were purchased based on a state bid, through the state bid, process. One of these trucks has been received and is out in use, and I believe the other one is, due to be delivered in the coming weeks.
Great.
Okay.
Good news, we need them.
Yeah, it worked out. I think one of the ones we had actually broke down right before the last storm, so it was perfect timing.
That's great news. Anything for Brian, guys? Okay, the only thing left is motion to adjourn at 5:22. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Chavarella. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
The recording
up?
has stopped.
Okay, for the folks that are online, the Community Relations and Blight Committee just ended and the Property and Development Committee will get set up and start within a few minutes.
Good. Yeah, she's good. Yeah, they're all good.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Derby Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen Property and Development Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, and it is now 5:27 p.m. If we could all stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have the roll call, please?
Rob Hyder,
Here.
Arthur Newberg,
Here.
Amy Pettinici.
Here.
You have 3 members present, so you have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Item 4, additions, deletions, corrections, and adoption of agenda. Do I hear any additions, deletions?
No.
That was a no?
Correct. That was a no.
Correct, thank you. Okay, with nothing adding or deleting from the agenda, we'll move on to public portion. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Turn on the mic and state your name and address, please.
Hi there, this is Lisa Braylon from 7 Grandview Boulevard here in Derby. I have 2 things. One is that I would like to strongly encourage all committees to meet every month. I know of at least 4 months last year in which the committees did not meet. And like in November, December, that was because the holidays fell exactly on the 4th Thursdays. So it seems to me that one could schedule those meetings for another time rather than just canceling them, because it makes for very large gaps in the process. So that's an encouragement to meet regularly.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 2, I am here because of the item on the agenda, the trolley car stencils. And so I will remain open for any questions or talking about that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Oh, turn it back on, Jack. There you go.
Okay, Jack Walsh, 31 8th Street. I have a question and then a couple of comments. Question is, 2 years ago, the city allocated hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair the bridge on the Greenway. And it was postponed, and they reallocated the money last year, I believe. Brian never set it aside again. And I understand, or I've heard that the problem was with the railroads. But I'm just wondering, where do we stand on that? Because the bridge isn't getting any better.
Okay. I don't believe I have an answer for you here unless anyone else. Attorney Petrella, do you have any information on that one?
On the bridge? No.
No.
We,
Okay.
well, we also tried and have been trying to make contact. And they've been rather elusive, Jack,
Yeah.
to put it mildly. We have not, at one point, we made contact with the individual. He promised to review it and get back to us. And then my partner, Brian Lima, has been chasing them ever since.
It's just, it's a lot of money and it's worth less and less every time they delay. And I think it was over $400,000 if I recall.
I believe that's accurate. Yeah.
So, all right. Then I have just a couple comments. Lisa's talking about the project to put the trolley cars. I just want to tell you that was a project that we did probably 15 years ago. It was done by the Derby Shelton Rotary Club and Ansonia Rotary Club as a joint project. It's on the old belt line, which was the trolley line that ran between the 2 towns. And at one point, the Boy Scouts even awarded a merit badge for the kids that would do it. It was very popular. It was a social thing and whatnot. And we had the trolley cars painted. Ironically, the DPW and the Ansonia Public Works did the work. We didn't ask the work. We were going to do all the work, but they jumped in and, they stayed for a couple of years and they don't last forever, but it was a good project. Okay. Then I sent a report when the board met last month, the full board, about the plaque project. I was just wondering if anyone has any questions about the plaque project that we started 2 years ago.
No, I don't. I enjoy that project. I think it's really a really cool thing and unique for our city. I don't have any questions. Arthur or Rob, do you?
No, no questions. I just hope it continues and continue to add them around the city.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
have no questions either, but it's a good project. Looking forward to see it move forward.
And
Jack,
then-
I do have a question on the trolley, the Beltline paintings. Do you happen to have a map of that project that you did 15 years ago, and I don't know where those stencils were placed?
Do I have a map? I don't think I have, but it's just, you know, it's literally a circle running from here up Elizabeth Street, Seymour Avenue into Ansonia.
Sorry, I froze. I don't know. I didn't hear that. I don't know if you could hear me.
Yeah, you cut out for a minute. If you want to re-ask your question, Rob.
Maybe lost them
I
again.
might have lost him. I think his original question was, do you still have the original map to see where they were placed? And I think you said,
Well, you know, they were just spaced at that point in time. Literally went out with a
Mhm.
hand wheel and they were every 1/10 of a mile.
okay,
Okay, you could do it any way you wanted, and the trolley cars were painted red in Derby and they were painted blue in Ansonia. You know, it was just nice thing. At the time, we were also hoping to get some people off of the Greenway because we had too many people using the Greenway. So we thought this would give them an alternative. I have to say, I don't think we got that many people that used it, but anything you can do to get people out and exercising is a positive, especially when you're connecting it to something good about the city, its history. So I thought it was a good thing.
yeah. You know, you raised that the Boy Scouts helped with that other project. I wonder if they'd be willing to help with yours, to help maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I think he was saying that in order to match for walking. No.
Yeah, they didn't help with the project. They just,
Okay, they walked it. Okay.
they were trying to encourage us to go.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can, yeah.
And the stencils, I don't know, did you ever find the stencils? Because they were,
Yes, I have both stencils.
okay,
Or my garage.
yeah, okay, so they're still there. It's not a big deal. My last thing is that, you know, I've been coming for a couple of years talking about the Greenway and the kiosk. Okay? And, you know, that's a real sore point with me now. And they finally did come and put the kiosk back. They put it in the wrong place. The kiosk had nothing to do with the Greenway. The kiosk was about the tub wheels, and the kiosk was supposed to go back right next to the tub wheels. That's not where it is. It's been there since November. I don't see anything happening with it. So I'm making a comment. It's not up to me what happens next. But it wasn't done right. And, you know, that's a contract that I guess NBCOG had with, I don't know who the contractor was, but it's not where it was supposed to be. It was supposed to go back right next to the toe wheels where they put the concrete base. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Jack. Linda, come on up.
So it took a very long time to get the kiosk, and I know that it wasn't exactly where Jack wanted or what he wanted. It was not very close to what had originally been there. I can ask them to try to move it because they haven't closed out the project. Will they do it? I don't know. It's kind of cold now to try to re-cement it down in a different place, but we can certainly try because the project is still technically open. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's maybe something that we should pursue, what work it would take just to move it, and we would probably have to wait obviously until spring.
Yeah, I can call Scottsville tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
But there are other punch list items.
There aren't other punch list
Right,
items, which is why the project hasn't closed yet.
No, I mean, just so they know, they're.
Did we lose Rob?
Yeah. He was there.
I'm back. Yeah, I got lost in Naugatuck somewhere, but I'm back.
Okay. All right. All right.
Maybe just tell them they don't have the map.
Okay, so Rob, to answer your question, Jack did not have a map.
Okay.
But Lisa knows the circular pattern and where they go.
Okay, perfect.
They were every 10th of a
Every 10th of a mile was the previous project.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. All right, would anyone else from the public wish to speak? One last time, anyone else from the public? Jack, come on
Let me
back.
just add
Yeah.
one last thing. I've been chasing Home Depot about a plaque, but in the course of that, I've also been asking, when this Main Street started, there was a memorial in front of Home Depot, and it belonged to them. And they had erected it when the building was put up. It was a V-shaped brick thing with plaques on it. And I believe it listed all the former employees at Farrell's who had fought in the wars. And, I've been down to Home Depot several times asking them, where is it? Should have been put back. I don't know who took it down. I'm assuming it was probably the state contractor, but it's not there. They don't know where it is. I think the city should take the interest in that and ask the construction crew, where is it? Because it shouldn't be a big deal. Just take it and put it right back where it was. But it's been lost.
Yeah.
If they took it, they should pay for it.
I agree. Linda,
Yeah.
when you contact the contractor or the state or whomever about moving the kiosk, is that something else that you can address with them as well?
I can, but I don't think that they are going to have it, Rob, because Home Depot was built before they started that project. I just asked the mayor if maybe Public Works would have had it. I can go down and ask to see the manager. He doesn't think that Public Works has it. I can go down to Home Depot and ask to see the manager and explain the situation.
They took it down when the project started.
Oh,
Or the state or Home Depot.
okay. Well, I can ask Scott Seville too, but I don't remember it being there for a long time. I could be wrong.
Was there for years.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. It came down along with the project, and that's a good question as to where it is, and I would like to have it replaced.
All right. I'll talk to Scott about that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It definitely came down for the project because it was it was brought up at the time of the public meetings. And then they had to, because that's when they started widening, but Home Depot also redid some of their buffer landscaping stuff too, but that was different than this. This was taken down as part of the project because that was like part of the first part that they had to widen out.
Since Jack came back, I'll come back to, this is Lisa Braley again. I again would like to encourage something which would be the sort of revision and revival of the Adopt a Spot program, if that falls within this committee. I know that was Rob, so hence I'm bringing it up here. But it would be great to see that supported and maybe thought about in some different ways, like not having a $475 fee, acknowledging what people do, things like that, to actually encourage some more adoption spots.
Thank you. Okay, one last time. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Okay, hearing no one else, we'll move on to item 6. Elect chair of the committee for 2025 through 2027 term.
Since Amy did such a fantastic job in her first term, I would be happy to nominate her to serve as the chair of this committee again for another term. I make that in the form of a motion.
And I second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, so that's a first and a second from Rob and Arthur for Amy. Do I hear any other motions? Okay. Any questions? Okay, does everyone agree in this vote that Amy is the new chair? Yes, we all
Yes.
agree. Yes,
Yeah.
vote yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Next item. Item number 7, adopt regular meeting schedule for the 2026 calendar year. I saw that in here somewhere, but it's my other ones. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we have the dates from January through December for our committee to meet starting at 5 p.m. or following the community relations meeting. Do I have a motion to accept and adopt this calendar?
So moved.
Thank you. I think I heard Arthur first. Rob, did I hear you second?
Second, yes.
Okay. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That motion carries. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to clarify the record, they'll go to January 7th.
I'm sorry. It goes through January 2027, the meeting schedule. Okay. Next item, number 8, trolley stencils on sidewalks, Main Street, Elizabeth Street, Seymour Avenue, Atwater Avenue, Division Street, and Derby Avenue. Update only, there's no action here. I really just wanted to bring this back onto the agenda just to let everyone know that it was not, I did not lose sight of it, and that we will still work through this. Linda, did you want to add something?
I did. I actually talked to Mike because one of the discussions that was had in a previous Board of Alders meeting was because Public Works had been involved the last time, did they have an opinion? Do you know, especially about the spacing of the trolleys? So I met with Mike and he really didn't, but he did say he'd be willing to help. They might be able to get some paint, but he would defer to the board on the spacing.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you. So what I was thinking we would do is if a couple of the board members would like to take a walk, not in the frigid temperature January, but maybe, you know, later next month or in early March, we can kind of walk through and maybe look what the space would look like, 1/10 of a mile, maybe, you know, one a little longer, a little less, and see what that would look like. Decide on how, excuse me, the spacing and then how many that would be total. And then we can figure out from there, you know, if Public Works can help us. What we'll bring, once we have a plan, we'll bring it back to the large board. And then that can get hopefully done in the spring. Did you want to come back up? Yeah.
So part of the trail was in Ansonia.
I was gonna
And
bring-
we have a good relationship with the new administration over there. They have an event planner. They have a chief of staff as well. We've spoken together many times. I think this would be a doable project. I think that they might be willing to buy into that. I certainly will raise it with them when it gets warmer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was going to bring that up too. I was like, maybe we should reach out to Ansonia and see if we want to join efforts on this. Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay, perfect. Okay, any more questions on that item? Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that 1/10 of a mile was regular but odd.
Okay.
Because they would just fall like wherever 1/10 of a mile was.
Okay.
And they're actually quite regular where they are still visible. You can walk exactly the same number of steps for each one. That little wheel that he used worked really well. But 1/10 of a mile is, you can't see the next one and they fall where they fall.
Right, right.
So the idea was to try to place them
Place them a little bit more.
a little bit more actually visibly,
Okay.
sensibly,
Right.
whatever.
Not on
Which
corners.
does actually make for more than 1/10 of a mile.
Okay.
Yes, I was waiting on the Ansonia portion of this because I was certainly not going to go talk to Ansonia about this without having
Yeah,
a decision here.
yeah,
And particularly because Ansonia had previously been more difficult about the project.
Right. yeah. I think Linda can add to, why don't we let Linda introduce the idea and then, you know, we'll have a joint, once. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Lisa. All right, good. Next item, 9, use of Caroline Street cobblestones, update only, no action on this one either. Again, same thought process with this one. I just don't want to lose sight of it. You know, we did have some dialogue. You know, Jack has been coming to the meetings for quite some time to talk about the cobblestones and, you know, ideas and what we could do with them. We do know that we want to make sure whatever the design is or the project, it is safe. So Public Works, does have a say in that. So some of the ideas that we tossed around via email, and by no means are these, set in stone or anything. But some of the ideas were, some type of signs or paths in the greenway entrance, some city sign with the seal on it, maybe coming back in from Shelton and leaving Derby into Shelton, maybe a monument on the green. Maybe we can, do a different project on the green. So we're actively, still considering designs and in discussions, and, we'll involve Public Works. So nothing is set right now, but, we don't want to let this project, just, fall. So we will, work through it over the winter here so that when we get to the spring, hopefully we can have a design and start to move, forward from there. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that item? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to item 10. Update on 2025 bond referendum, Derby Middle School chiller and Derby Public Library HVAC system. Thank you, Brian.
It's Brian Hall, Finance Director for City of Derby. The HVAC for the library is in flight. Corporate Council has approved the RFP. It is with the town clerk to post on the website. I hope by next week that is up. We're hopefully go about a 30-day period where, myself and perhaps some members on the finance committee will reach out to some different vendors, make them aware of the RFP and what's going on. And hopefully we start to get some bids in and work through that process and be ready for the spring. Similarly, on the chiller side, the Board of Ed is started the bid process on their end. Myself and the board members will have to again start reaching out to similar type vendors, right, at the same time, because it's all HVAC. Make them aware of those bids. We'll probably also likely try to go through Sourcewell to contact many of these vendors that are on their list. I'll talk a little bit about Sourcewell in the next meeting too, but Sourcewell is a conglomerate where they've already really gone through the RFP process and gotten the best prices with many of the brands and different companies. So it does allow us to kind of get things quicker and make decisions quicker, as you don't have to necessarily go through that full process and have the finance committee ultimately make the call if the director so chose a certain vendor that just made the most sense based on that pricing. But both of those are in works, and like I said, hopefully we're in good shape so that they can be ready for the summer. That would be the plan.
Thank you, Brian. All right, any questions on that one? All right, hearing none, we will move to item number 11. Proposed ordinance for Gold Star spouses. Tax exemption, discussion, and possible recommendation to full board of aldermen, alderwomen. Okay, this is in the back of the packet.
That's the onward. Yeah.
We need her for this.
That's if you don't mind, if you have anything to speak about these ordinances or any comments, appreciate it. If you don't mind jumping on.
Sure, I'm here. You want me to just give a broad overview?
Sure, that'd be great.
So in June of 2025, the legislature approved 4 local options for cities to vote on. They entailed surviving spouses of veterans that were had deceased before the program started. They were for unemployable people who had a rating but not of 100%. The Gold Star is for families of people who are killed in the line of duty. There is also a part of this is to approve the maximum of 2 acres of land to go along with the house that these 100% disabled veterans are entitled to now. So that's pretty much the options. I know that the Board of Aldermen did not entertain all of these, but those were all that were available to be voted on a local level. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
What exactly is the exemption? Is it a partial, is it a percentage of it? I didn't see it in here.
So presently, the state statute for 100% totally disabled veterans is their dwelling. And that's mandated, that's not a local option, that's mandated. So it would be your house or your condominium. And it would have to be your residence that you live in.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I believe this is expanding it to include the land, correct? Betsy, the local ordinance that they'd be adopting?
Yes, it's up to 2 acres of your property.
Which at that point means the residents will be paying no tax at all, right?
It does not include any outbuildings. So if you have a detached garage or a shed, a built-in swimming pool, those things would not be covered.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Betsy or Brent on this item? Or do we have a motion?
I make a motion to pass this to the full board.
Okay, motion made by Rob. I will second that motion. Amy? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Do we lose Arthur? Okay, item number 12, proposed ordinance for additional tax exemption for certain veterans, discussion and possible recommendation to full Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? I think Betsy, you spoke about both of them, right? So.
She did.
Yep, she did, yeah. Arthur, do you have any questions?
Sorry, I'm having some technical issues, so I couldn't really hear well. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One is how many people in Derby would be like affected by this or benefited by it? And then also, like, do we know what the fiscal impact for the city would be if passed?
So presently we have 15 people on the program. And the fiscal impact, adding the land, I did not do that. I can get that number to you so that
Yeah,
you have it available.
I think it was around 600,000. You can double check, Betsy, but I want to say it was around that neighborhood for those 15 people.
Yeah,
Tax. And assessed value, correct. So obviously then you have to multiply times 70 or multiply times the mill rate to get to the actual dollars.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Okay, are there any other questions or do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to pass this to the full board.
Thank you, Rob. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Arthur. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item, number 13, adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, motion made by Rob.
Second.
Arthur, thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 5:56 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Did the other 2 things go?
Okay, so
One. Public safety, yes.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, so the Property and Development Committee just finished and the next meeting will be starting shortly.
Can I ask a question? This is Karen.
Yes.
Arthur Newberg and Rob Hyder. Your technical difficulties, is it because you're using the new Frontier fiber internet?
No, I was on Verizon. I was going through Naugatuck through like the state forest area, Route 8.
Oh, okay, because I just switched over and it just keeps dropping off on me and it's driving me nuts.
So the full board meeting will be starting next. The Finance and Public Safety Committee will be after the full board meeting.
Oh, Sarah, how are you?
That helps.
This meeting is being recorded.
I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen on Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. The time is now 6:03. Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Newberg,
Here.
Ms. Petinici,
Here.
Ms. Vidomski,
Here.
Mr. Curtica,
Present.
Mr. Santos,
Present.
Mr. Sill, Mr. Chivarella,
Present.
Ms. Falcone Smith, Mr. Hyder.
Here.
The record should reflect you have all 9 members here. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Okay, number 4, public portion. Anybody from the public like to speak? Please step up to the mic, hit the button, state your name and address for the record. I think you know this already. Hit the button. There you go.
Andrew Backlick, 501 Roosevelt Drive in Derby. Good evening, Mayor DiMartino, President Curtica, and distinguished members of the Derby Board of Aldermen and Alderwomen. I'm here before you tonight in my capacity as a Derby property owner to express my concern about Derby potentially adopting the new local homestead property tax exemption authorized by the state. I think it's also worth mentioning that I'm employed by the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments, the regional planning agency to which Derby and the surrounding 18 municipalities belong. My job there as the Director of Municipal Affairs covers state and federal legislative matters, economic development, shared services, and providing general guidance to municipal staff and chief elected officials. I am also the former Chief of Staff and Director of Operations for this city and served my hometown proudly from 2017 to 2022. Now that you know who I am, I want to make a few points about your sole agenda item this evening. While I understand the intent of providing tax relief to homeowners, I believe adopting this exemption at this time would pose significant fiscal and equity risks to the city of Derby. First, the exemption does not reduce the city's cost of providing services. It simply removes a yet to be determined percentage of a portion of owner-occupied residential property from the tax base. Unless city spending is reduced, this will create a shift of the tax burden onto renters, commercial properties, and homeowners who do not qualify for the exemption. In a city like Derby, where many residents already struggle with housing costs, shifting taxes onto renters and small businesses is neither fair nor sustainable. Second, Derby is already facing uncertainty due to a recent and upcoming property revaluations. Introducing a new exemption now would further complicate revenue forecasting and budgeting, increasing the risk of future tax hikes or service cuts. Fiscal stability should be the city's priority. Third, the law provides little to no guidance on administration, creating and enforcing eligibility rules, verifying primary residency, and handling appeals. These things will all add hefty administrative costs and staff burden, costs that ultimately fall back on taxpayers. Finally, this policy risks creating inequities between residents by favoring one class of property owner over others without addressing underlying affordability issues. Expansion of targeted relief programs for seniors, veterans, low-income residents would be more effective and fair than a broad exemption that shifts costs elsewhere. For these reasons, I urge the city to delay or reject adoption of this local homestead exemption and instead focus on maintaining a stable tax base, predictable budgets, and equitable tax policy for all Derby residents. I got about 2 more minutes if you will indulge me, Mayor.
Done.
I want to close by addressing a few points that Brian Hall very succinctly made at the January 8th board meeting, which I reviewed last night online. While the points were clear and apparent, so was the uncertainty surrounding this very new law. I fully appreciate the ambitious Robin Hood sentiment of this idea, and I'm sure the board members, finance director, mayor, or whoever is behind rushing this item through the process means well and aims to steal from the rich and give to the poor. But you're simply shifting the burden to a population who will reshift it to those that most desperately need certainty on bills, our city's renters, who can often barely afford to pay rent, utilities, and still afford groceries. While I'm in favor of any policy that creates new homeowners and opportunities, this exemption does the opposite of that. Two other uncertainties that Brian mentioned were the motor vehicle tax issue, where depending upon the city's mill rate, we may or may not forfeit $1.2 million of state money, and the yet to be known increase the city will incur for health insurance coverage. And forgive me if I'm particularly sensitive to any $1.2 million budgeting issues, because I lived through 3 of them during my time here in City Hall. The city is finally budgeting things straight up with no shell games or politics involved, and with smart business sense and a tone of fiscal responsibility led by Brian. How we could be considering exemptions when we don't know the greenness, the middle rate, or have answers for how we plan to account for these increased costs, I'm not sure. I appreciate the strategy to adopt a generic resolution tonight that allows for the city to determine the exact percentage of reduction between 5 and 35% at a later date. But what does that represent in real dollars? We simply don't know. And yet, we're trying to institute this now in the midst of assessment appeals, budget hearings, and the increased activity and confusion surrounding revaluation. And if you haven't been online on the message boards to see the confusion and how little people understand about what's still yet to come with the mill rate adjustment and everything, I encourage you to look at what your constituents are saying and what they don't quite understand. It's a complex issue. As someone who worked in this building for 4 years, it probably took me 3 of those years to really understand it. So I just feel like it's going to create new administrative burden on the assessor's office in addition. So why not wait until more data is available from not only Woodford, but any other adopters of this exemption? I'm still trying to understand the rush and the lack of public hearing for such an initiative. If it is such a great idea, we should be shouting it from the rooftops and gaining public support. Keep in mind, this exemption was introduced by the Connecticut General Assembly in the summer of 2024. Milford, out of 169 municipalities in the state, has adopted it. Why is that? And why, while the city is still under state INFAC advisement, would we do anything other than straight up simple budgeting? I'll close with 2 points that may not be apparent to the board. We've all been waiting for 50 plus years, but the city is actively trying to attract new commercial mixed use and multifamily development across the street here. What does this type of activity signal to potential investors? Despite Brian's contention that this will have minimal impact, I strongly disagree. It sends the wrong message to potential investors and developers who would clearly share the additional tax burden this exemption would create. Finally, as we're getting up for the Connecticut General Assembly's 2026 legislative session, Governor Lamont has specifically directed the legislature to review tax exemptions for low-income, elderly, and veterans, with an eye toward extending relief to those who need it most. It simply doesn't make sense to take action now until the state gets their program ironed out. Once you push this button, you cannot unpush it, and the unintended consequences are too unclear to take the risk. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Anybody else from the public like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, Board, Gino DiGiovanni, 77 8th Street. I'd just like to echo a couple of points from Andrew. Number one, we haven't set the mill rate yet. Number two, the tax board hasn't even met yet this current year to go over our new budget and talks from the department heads to see what cuts or what increases we're going to have. Number two, Mayor, your budget didn't even come out yet either. So the residents and the taxpayers have no idea where we are and where we're going as of right now, which it is early. And in my opinion, I don't think it's right. It's the right time. I'm not for or against this because once again, this is new. And number two, the meeting got posted 25 hours ago, and some people on the board didn't even know that there was going to be a special meeting on this tonight, and neither did the public for that matter. But my final point is that we're trying to create a business-friendly city here to raise our grand list and shifting the tax burden from one class to another and putting it more or less onto businesses to pick up the slack. I don't think is creating a business-friendly environment for people to stop on Route 8 instead of driving 2 exits south. So I encourage you to push this off maybe till next year. Let's gather some other data. And I really wouldn't like to see Derby be the second municipality in the whole state out of 169 towns to go through with this and rush it and not get it right. So with that, I just wish that you guys take that into consideration, and we'll gather some more information, and hopefully maybe we get this done in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Anybody else in the public? Anybody on Zoom would like to speak at this time? Unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, yes, my name is Marie Cunningham. I live at 213 Caroline Street in Derby. My landlord just let us know that all of the property taxes were going to be raised. And she just let us know that we should come in here and just speak our mind, and that we should vote for you, or let you guys know, and you guys would be voting based on everybody that's speaking. And yeah, I just wanted to say no to the homestead exemption to keep help keep the tax burden down if we can.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the public like to speak?
Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so please hear me out.
State your name and address, please, for the
Oh,
record.
yeah, Alex Fiorelli. I actually live in Oxford with my wife and 2 kids. And I'll explain why I have a stake in this. I was born and raised in Derby. My parents still live here. My grandparents came here from Italy in the 60s. One of them still rents here, graduated Derby. So the main reason why I care about this proposal and obviously ferociously object to it, I own 26 rental units in Derby. So I'm a landlord, and people will obviously question my motives. These are investments, but I also want to state that I can invest anywhere, but I choose to do it mostly in my hometown where the majority of my portfolio exists. I flipped the property here. I'm working on another one in Derby where a current Derby renter is actually going to buy as his primary residence. So this is only 5 minutes, so just hear me out if we have time.
Yeah, take your time.
I believe this proposal has a lot of unintended consequences. I feel like this is typically the case for things at any level. So on the surface, this seems great, right? It's going to alleviate taxes on people who actually live in their homes in Derby, and that's not true at all. As others said, I don't have to dive too far into it, but it's going to redistribute all of that tax burden onto tenants who occupy potentially up to 43% of the multifamily homes in Derby. And as you know, Derby has the largest percentage of multifamily homes out of any town in the valley. So regardless of what the mill rate's lower to, people will still see another significant tax increase. And again, all you're doing by passing this is shifting the burden onto people who rent. So yes, you can say I'm financially motivated, but at the same time, I can say, well, if I didn't care as much as I did about Derby's future, I would just wait and see what the new tax increase would be, given the assessments and the proposal, and investors like me would get hit, and I could just pass the rent increase on to all of my tenants. At the end of the day, I do not want to do that. This is going to impact the town at a very large scale. You're going to have landlords who don't care, who only see it as an investment with no skin in the game, and they will simply just raise the rents proportionally across the board. And the tenants who can't afford it, they will be evicted and they won't have their leases renewed. And the long-term effect, you'll create a higher rent floor and decreased affordability. So the only people who are going to be able to afford to live in Derby, if this actually happens, are going to be people that have the Section 8 vouchers, and I will explain that. So Section 8, great program for people who need it, but it's abused, and it creates rent raises across the board. So I've been doing this since 2016, and I know what the tactics are. Whenever a landlord lists an apartment, they don't know what they can get. They always look up the HUD rates, right? They're listed by town according to bedroom. So for example, if I have a 2-bedroom in Derby, which I have a few of, and I'm unsure of what to charge, I can reference the HUD standard, and they say, oh, you can get up to $1,800 for a 2-bedroom in Derby. Well, a unit that I would otherwise list for $1,400 to $1,600, I can now get $1,800, and I'm going to, because I'm going to put it out there, and the rental market is strong in Derby. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be part of the housing affordability crisis. I have people in my units who have been there for 7, 8 years. So this is going to cause a massive wave of people who are going to leave Derby. It's going to be a transient resident base. There are renters who've been here for decades. You know, this isn't just primary homeowners. These are people who were born here. They're elderly. They're renting. Commercial landlords will avoid Derby. Larger corporations are going to raise prices in lieu of the taxes. Everyone here and thinking about setting up shop here is going to suffer. You're going to see, you know, more chipping paint, more garbage everywhere, which is a topic in of itself. You know, people not caring about the homes. You know, those really negligent landlords, they exist, and I'm trying my best not to be one of them. So if your intention is to incentivize people to live and stay in Derby, you're ignoring a massive portion of your own citizens. This is potentially up to 43% of them. I'm going to skip a lot of the other stuff I was going to say. So I don't know of any other town other than New Milford, as Gino hinted towards, that has actually adopted this as a percentage basis. But the kicker is they're only 24% multifamily while Derby is 43. So that's a massive discrepancy. So we can't even compare apples to apples when we're actually looking at, hey, how has this impacted, you know, other towns? So we're trying an experiment that we don't have to do for reasons I really don't understand. You know, we're not really financially stable yet. I think we're on the path. You know, bigger investors are taking note. I also question who's going to manage this. 2 more minutes. You know, why are we saying, hey, let's just roll the dice and maybe, you know, kind of pander to some people who actually live here and give them a break? Like, I'm being respectful. You know, I'm aware the other people live in town. People are questioning the motives behind closed doors. So my last point is, you know, this is honestly telling me that we don't care about the people who rent in town. There's no other way to frame it. It's not political. I have no other agenda. I'm here because I actually care and I don't want to do this. I ate a lot of the rent increases because of the taxes that happened a couple years ago. But we're literally saying we don't care about the people who rent in Derby. We only care about the people who own their homes, who oftentimes have family that rent them. A couple more sentences. So we're not hurting investors. They're not going to pay increased taxes in a vacuum with no ripple effect. And just to further drive home the fact that I care beyond financials, you know, I want to acknowledge that I will potentially not only lose money, you know, I can make money on this. I can raise the rents. I can do what I have to do, but I don't want to do that. I'm in it for the long game. The majority of my portfolio is in Derby. I love the people here. I have history here. It's near and dear to my heart. You know, I always say you could make money anywhere. Why not do it where you have a stake in the game? I get the best of both worlds. But at the end of the day, we're hurting the tenants. We're hurting the chances of businesses, both big and small, rooting themselves here. And, you know, we're raising the cost of everyone that does business or actually consumes any service or product in town. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Anybody else in the public like to speak? Anybody else from the public like to speak? Third and final time, anybody from the public like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Mark Garfalo. I'm the town clerk, and here to speak regarding this matter that's on the agenda tonight, as I did inform the mayor that I would do so. And I do so because I've served a long time in public life in the city with many of you, and respect the volunteer people that serve on boards and commissions and work for the city of Derby. This and anybody that knows me knows I have an opinion on everything under the sun, but I don't choose to speak in the public portion because you have a job to do, and if I need to express something, I'm here to express that or help make better public policy. This is a large issue, and it is a confusing issue for people, and it is going to have, in my opinion, if we adopt this, it's going to have unintended consequences that we're not even thinking about right now, because we don't know what the percentage is, not even in the document. So I think that if you're going to adopt something, that the percentage should be in there so we know what that's going to be. Because after all, what we're trying to get to is equity, right? Equity through this whole process that really should be addressed to our state legislative people. The revaluation process is unfair to everybody. But it's the system that is adopted by the state. So I offer that we have to be thoughtful, because the wheels of government move slowly, and everybody in the world is frustrated by that. But they move slowly for a reason. whether it's Washington or Hartford or here, they move slowly so that there's a deliberative process to hear all sides of an issue. This is an untested piece of public policy that is already being revisited at the state level, and there's no example that we could look to for this. And we've heard from property owners, landowners, apartment owners, and so forth. But I also remind you that it also is going to go on to the business community as well, not only the big shopping centers, but in particular, the owner-occupied businesses, long-standing people who also live in our community. And just to like focus it, it's Maddie's Deli, it's Roseland, it's Dewdrop, it's Adzima Funeral Home. It's a whole bunch of Railroad's gas station, people who have been here for generations operating their business and who also live here. So if we're going to talk about equity and relief, it is a noble thing to talk about that. And we should talk about that to help the people who need it the most. And there are other options, right, to consider when easing the burden of revaluation. One of the ways is we already have the state elderly exemption that is in place and we get reimbursed from the state, but there's an option to extend that elderly, and it's based on income. We can extend that income. We can increase that income for other elderly who might be in need in excess of the limits, because the limits are pretty low. You could also put a general income guideline to help people, homeowners who have less income that would have to go through the same process. That would focus to help the people who need it the most. And it would be less of a shift back onto the business and to the renters. And the renters, it's not going to be like untouched through this whole thing. And I think sometimes we have some really bad landlords in Derby, like really bad ones, who don't take care of their property. So I think sometimes we see those faces. But we forget that a lot of the 3-family homes are owned by people who live in them, or there's larger properties of people who live here. And it is very important to me to look at this matter and say, what are all the options to get the input from our assessor, to get the input to see where the state legislation is going, to consider something like this that might be helpful, but to go through the process that we go through, a committee process, and to vet this, to hear it all out, because it's new and it's complicated. And to try to oversimplify it doesn't really do any good, because it is a complicated thing that has unintended consequences. So I just urge your caution, I urge your careful thought, and I urge your judgment for the greater good. And I say this as a property owner, as it relates to the revaluation, my value went up 90%. So if the mill rate comes down to a point where we think it might come at budget zero, that would be with no new spending, my taxes stand to go up $1,000 a year. So I say that to say for the greater good, and I don't say the $1,000 lightly. It's a big nut for anybody. So I think that please be cautious, be careful, and be thoughtful about the way we proceed. And again, we don't often see a lot of people at these meetings, so it is helpful to remember that they're here, people are on Zoom, it's being live streamed, so it is a complicated matter that begs for thoughtful decision making. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Anybody else in the public like to speak? Third and final time, anybody?
I would like to speak.
Go ahead. Name and
Okay.
address for the record?
Okay, my name is Karen Espinoza, and I actually am not a resident, but I own two properties, one on Third Street and one on Caroline Street. And we have also been hit pretty hard with the revaluation. One property was almost tripled, the other one was a little more than doubled. And we are concerned about our tenants. We intentionally try to keep the rents to be affordable, and we try and be as good as we can as landlords. And yeah, we're just concerned. We're concerned about raising the rents and putting a burden on our tenants. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Anybody else in the public? Third and final time? Hearing none, public portion is now closed. Number 5 on the agenda, homestead property tax exemption ordinance, discussion and possible action. Brian?
First, Brian Hall, Finance Director for the City of Derby. Thank you all for your time tonight. I'll just piggyback a little bit off of kind of last week's meeting and address some of the comments that were discussed. So as we talked a little bit about the homestead exemption, it is an option. You've got the ordinance in front of you. The ordinance obviously does give you the range. Purpose being that you're not setting the rate tonight. You will not have to revisit an ordinance every time that you want to change that rate. You set the ordinance, you get the range, and then each year you're going to pick the percentage. Likely you wouldn't change it over the future years once we decide. That percentage could be anywhere between the 5 and 35. So the more you swing toward 35, the more you shift that burden away from the residential homeowner and more to the commercial and residential property landlords. So no one's asking at this point to make that decision as far as how much that shift's going to be. But the fact of the matter is there is absolutely going to have to be an increase in taxes dollars generated. That 1.2 million is going to disappear when the mill rates drops to around that motor vehicle cap level, which I expect it to do. Personal property. So all the small businesses, they're all going to get a break on their personal property because their personal property is not going to change much and their mill rate's going to come down. So while I would agree that the people that run businesses and own businesses, they're going to have two things going on, right? They're going to have their personal property coming down. They're going to potentially have their, they will have their taxes going up on their property. Everyone will. Guaranteed, no matter what, if you do nothing, right, you're definitely in double-digit tax increase to cover the reassessment process. I was on a call today where the state is expecting about a 13% increase in healthcare costs. Okay, that's a big number to try to find somehow. Well, the mayor and I have started the budget process. We met with most of the directors. Everyone is still as flat as possible. Most all of them are flat. Maybe a couple of them have to go up based on contracts. There's really just nowhere else to cut. But I expect that amount to be really minimal, just as it's been the last year and every year we've done this budget. The issue is not going to be the stuff that we can control and the direction control. It's the stuff that we can't control. We can't control the state aid. It is what it is. They're going to take it away from us. I can't control if the mill rate comes down, that the people on their personal property are going to pay less. And I can't control if the state raises the healthcare by 13%. So those are just things we're going to have to deal with. Now everyone can pay the same. All will be probably more than what everybody experienced 2 years ago. Or the homestead gives you an option to shift that burden, as we've talked about. Again, how much you shift that burden is to be determined at a later date when we have the final numbers, probably in the next couple meetings. But nonetheless, it does shift that burden to the commercial and the residential landlords versus the 3,000 residents that live and own in their home and reside in their home. I don't know that, I don't think we can do this next year. Counselor, you would know for sure. I believe you have to do it in an assessment year. So I don't know that that's going to be an option. I think this is our one chance. There is obviously, there is going to be administrative costs, as I've highlighted before, 20, maybe $25,000 to implement, so it's not free. We've tried to keep that application as straightforward as possible to try to eliminate that. And I'm hopeful that it will, but it is the first time anyone would be doing it, so we'll see. The sense of urgency, I guess, is really more around the unknown timing of how long it's going to take the process the potentially 3,000 applications that would come in, and making sure we got enough time to communicate to the residents about this program, give them time to get their applications in, give us time to process them, and time for the bills to be adjusted in July. So again, delaying this is just really, we're running out of time to effectively be able to administer it. And make sure everyone is aware of it and gets a chance to apply to it and get the benefit this year and not have to skip that to the following year. Does anyone else have any other questions? Again, we're just talking about the ordinance. I know there's a couple changes on the application that we'll finalize if the ordinance goes through. I mean, the order of operations, so you know, is that if you approve the ordinance tonight, we would get the applications finalized, work with QDS to get the letters out to folks. That's going to take a few weeks. Ideally, we get everything done through March 31st, which then gives us another month or so to process it, deal with any kind of issues, and get the bills out in time. I'd probably come back to you in the next few meetings with the final numbers and the percentage recommendations. Similar to what I had showed as an example, would be likely, I would give you some different scenarios. One where it's a very low tax increase on the homeowners, 3.5%, I believe is what I was targeting last time. But I'm certainly open to other ranges. So you can make it a little more, a bigger burden on the homeowners or less, but that would have been my recommendation, and will still likely be as we finalize the numbers and figure out how to solve the likely $2 to $3 million tax shortfall that we're going to have to solve for one way or the other. Either everyone's going to pay for it, or as we've talked about, we're going to shift that burden.
Any questions for Brian?
I have a question for Attorney Viterla. Is this something that, as Brian said, it's only eligible during assessment years, or is delaying 1 year a possibility, or is it going to be 10-year delay?
So as a number of speakers have noted, this is a relatively new statute. And the statutory language in 12-8100 of the Connecticut General Statutes does not address that. It seems to be wide open. So in that sense, there isn't a prohibition upon taking it up, say, next year. There isn't. The reason New Milford, I believe, looked at it, and probably the reason you've heard the finance director say why he's looking at it, is because you're coming off the heels of a reevaluation. And so I think that's the motivation. But the statute itself does not address whether it has to follow a reevaluation. And let me just say one more thing, Mr. Mayor, and this is not a statute that has been tested in court. So there are no judicial decisions following it. So just from the plain reading of the statute, there is no limitation.
If I may, I have a question here. I'm looking at the third paragraph here of section 12-8100. It says there is established for the assessment year commencing October 1st, 2025, and each assessment year thereafter. Now, those assessment years are done yearly or every?
It just means that if you get the exemption this year, you're going to get it each year thereafter. You do not have to reapply. You would have to reapply the next time there's an assessment, which would be 5 years later.
5 years, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Brian, have you looked at any of the other potential exemptions that were talked about during public portion?
Other than the 4 exemptions that Betsy talked about, the couple of which you're looking at adopting, which really is going to be for a relatively small group of people. I don't think you're going to find anything that's broad-based like this. I think the next best option would be to phase in the reval over a 4 to 5 year period. Then everyone's going to be paying more taxes than they probably want for the next 4 to 5 years. And then the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see your assessment kind of grow each year. And a lot of the confusion and concern, I think, that folks had this year when their assessment goes up will likely continue over that period of time. Net you're still paying the tax, but I will say it would allow for more of that state aid to trickle in over that 4 to 5 year period and offset some of that burden. Certainly not all of it, but it would limit that. But again, now you're stretching it out over that period of time. So I would say if this is not a path to go, then you'd probably hear me up here pushing for that next.
Good, sir.
I just also wanted to state, I just wanted to thank all of the members of the public who spoke today and expressed their concerns. Just because there are questions, there are probably more questions than answers that I have about this because it's so new. And we don't have another municipality to look at in the state to see. I think multiple people talked about unintended consequences. So I have some concerns about that. But I also have concerns about the burden on all taxpayers, both, single and 2-family homeowners and those who are business owners and apartment complex owners. There's a lot to consider and think about.
Any other questions? Hearing none?
Is Betsy still on?
Yes, I am.
Betsy, do you have, as our assessor, any thoughts or regarding this homestead exemption? Or have you heard anything, through your experience with other municipalities as the assessor?
Well, I have had extensive conversations with Brian Laster, who is the assessor in New Milford. And I think he takes the same opinion as I do, is that I'm the worker bee. If the administration feels that this is best for the community, we'll figure out how to make it happen in our office. That's sort of how I look at it. I do support in my other municipalities, local elderly benefits, local veteran benefits, those types of things. So those are other options to look at for the people because they're income based. So they really are going to the people who need it. But I'm not in a position to speak for it or against it. That's your guys' job. But as I said, if it's something that the administration wants to happen, then we'll figure out how to make it work.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, if I just may reiterate what my colleague said regarding the newness of this tax exemption, and personally right now wanting to know, as hearing the public talk about this, I think we need more information in discussing, process and the funding. How is it going to be a burden on the residents of Derby, but also we want to keep businesses here and hoping that we can come to some resolution of inviting businesses in the future and getting some type of tax exemption for them based on this homestead. But right now, as it stands, there's still a lot of information missing for us to actually make a decision on this.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I have another question. Um, and this is kind of in line with, can we wait a year? If we wait a year, or if we do it now and we pick, one percentage, are we then allowed to change it annually if something is just not working or it's not balanced to our liking?
My understanding, yes.
Annually, we're okay. Thank you.
And if I may, this ordinance is basically modeled on the New Milford ordinance, and that is why they basically took the 5 to 35%, and they haven't established what percentage they're going to utilize. And so they're not locked in over a period of time. I think that was the motivation behind the way it was written.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure? Is there any action tonight? Or we leave it and re-adjourn?
Well, speaking with the members, I believe that we should table this for a future meeting until we get the questions, the answers to our questions that we have. I believe it's a good program, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit. We have a lot of seniors in town. And I believe that if they're not eligible for the senior exemption that the state has, that we should try to do something for them. But in the meantime, as Drew brought out, that we don't want the businesses and the small businesses and the big businesses to leave our municipality. So my motion is that we table this ordinance to a later date.
Okay, there's a motion made by George. There a second? Second, Amy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. One opposed. Number 6, adjournment.
Motion
Ron?
to adjourn
Ron?
at 6:44.
I mean, it's Ray Ron. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.